Welcome back. I want to talk about Colorado today. So, you kind of might have seen that glimmer in my eye while I was talking during the News of the Day video, and I thought, yeah, let's take a look at Colorado. Because before the season started, many, myself included, were saying, hey, this is going to be the Stanley Cup champion in 2021. They look good. And as soon as there was a consensus, I was like, oh, I want to change it. Because consensus is normally bad. However, Tampa Bay proved last year that consensus can mean you just have the best team in the league. Colorado was trending in that direction. Now, things haven't quite gone their way. So, right now they have a record of 11-7-1. If you look by points percentage, they're 13th in the National Hockey League with a 605 points percentage, which tells you all you need to know about the NHL points percentage and how insane 3-point games make everything look. They're fourth in the West. So Vegas is in 18 games a team with a 13-4-1 record, 27 points. St. Louis has played more games than everybody else, other than Anaheim. They've played 22. They're 12-8-2, 26 points. So Minnesota has 3 games in hand on St. Louis, 12-6-1 with 25 points. Colorado, 3 games in hand on St. Louis as well, 11-7-1, 23 points. So it's not as dire as it may look seeing them in fourth. Because the teams behind them, well, LA, they have a game in hand on LA. LA's 9-7-4 with 22 points. Arizona, they have 2 games in hand on Arizona, who are 9-9-3, 21 points. San Jose, 19 games played. They have the same games played as Colorado, 8-9-2, 18 points. And Anaheim, who are not going to make the playoffs. They've played more games than everybody who's not St. Louis, 6-11-5, 17 points. So when we really look at it, Colorado's not in any danger of missing the playoffs. I'm not even going to make that argument because I really don't think you can make that argument other than from a point of view of I don't like Colorado. I think that's the only way to make that argument. So there may be people who are like, I just don't like Colorado. Yeah, I get it. So what's changed? Why is it that they're not looking like Colorado? There are a few reasons for this. Their goals for has definitely dropped. 2018-2019, they were 5th in the NHL overall. They were 10th in goals for. 2019-2020, they were 2nd in the National Hockey League. They were 4th in goals for. This year, they're 22nd in goals for overall. Goals against, they were 16th in 2018-2019. They were 5th last year, and this year they're 4th. Their defense has been good. Their goals against is all right. So I know I hear a lot of comments about how their goaltending probably isn't good enough. We'll get there when we get there in the playoffs, but for right now, it's been fine. There hasn't the problem has not been goaltending for Colorado. The problem is they're not scoring enough goals. Power play, their power play's been fantastic. It was 22.03% in 2018-2019, 19.09% last year. This year, 24%. It just doesn't get a lot of interest in it and attention because a lot of teams have a power play of 25% or higher right now. It's insane. The thing is, their special teams have been great. Their penalty killing's been amazing. So that was their Achilles heel in 2018-2019, where it was 78.68%. Last year, it goes up to 81.43%. This year, so far, 88.33%. And that's with a schedule that's seen them play 12 of their first 20 games on the road, their 20th game being tonight. So this has been a schedule that leans more towards road games. Their special teams have been really good. Of their 57 goals, which is exactly 3 per game, 18 of them have been on the power play. So they're getting roughly 1 power play goal every game. They're getting 2 regular goals that aren't power play goals outside of that. Not sure on shorthanded goals. I don't think they might have 1 or 2. I didn't really look it up. I really wanted to talk about the power play more than anything and how this is another team that doesn't seem to perform 5-on-5 the way that it's expected. So who do you blame? That's the first thing you got to do as a fan of sports. You got to find who you got to blame. Well, Nathan MacKinnon has not set the world on fire. Played 69 games last year, 35 goals, 58 assists, 93 points. One of the best players in the league. And that hasn't changed. He's still one of the best players in the league. The points, though, have dropped. 18 games, 5 goals, 16 assists, 21 points. The 5 goals, that's a major issue. Absolutely. He should be better than a 20-goal scorer over an 82-game schedule. He should be better than roughly a point a game at this stage in his career. Cale Makar has been just fine. 57 games played in his rookie season, 12 goals, 38 assists, 50 points. This year in 15 games, 1 goal, 13 assists, 14 points. but it is noteworthy that he only has the 1 goal so far, and he had 12 last year. So this is that goal drop right here. It seems to be all across. Then you get to Andrei Burakovsky. He had a great year last year, 58 games, 20 goals, 25 assists, 45 points. This year, 16 games, 4 goals, 8 assists, 12 points. I'll give him a pass. His totals are not that far off of last year. 1 good game tonight, and he's right on pace with last year. So that's fine. Gabriel Landeskog continues to not produce offensively the way one might expect if you watch Colorado regularly, because he's very noticeable out there. 54 games last year, 21 goals, 23 assists, 44 points. This year, 17 games, 5 goals, 5 assists, 10 points. Definite drop there. Mikko Rantanen, inconsistent. Like, he has huge, the goal scoring streak, and then it's done. 42 games played last year due to injury, 19 goals, 22 assists, 41 points. This year, 19 games, 8 goals, 10 assists, 18 points. But, again, if you average this out, his points and his goals are not off of last year's totals in general, right? He's still scoring at about the same pace. So Landeskog's dropped, McKinnon's dropped, Rantanen is not. Kadri is where you see a major shift. Last year, 51 games, 19 goals, 37 assists, or 17 assists, 36 points, and he was a +7. And this is where plus minuses, I think, are important. This year, 19 games, 6 goals, 7 assists, 13 points, and he's a -13. He's running at about a -1 per game. So that tells you that Kadri, with that switch of 20 from a +7 to a -13, that's a major drop. That's a major drop. So where the issues lie here, to me anyways, are that you've got a top line that's not producing like they did. You've got Kadri not playing like he did last year. And then we get further down here. Girard's had a very good start to the season. Last year, 70 games, 4 goals, 30 assists, 34 points. This year, 17 games, 3 goals, 11 assists, 14 points. Guy's a beast. I'm not going to say anything bad about him. Donskoy, 65 games, 16 goals, 17 assists, 33 points last year. This year, 19 games, 6 goals, 6 assists, 12 points. He's been very good as well. JT Compher, this is where you see a weakness. 67 games, 11 goals, 20 assists, 31 points. And even last year, that was kind of, I don't know, it's kind of disappointing. What was expected of him, maybe a little more. This year, 19 games, 2 goals, 2 assists, 4 points. Just right off the cliff for JT Compher. And Valeri Nichushkin, last year he had a very good year. It was a great story. And I wondered if it might be a career year because that was out of line with how he'd played in Dallas. But maybe it's going to work great in Colorado. This year it's kind of dropped to Dallas levels. 65 games last year, 13 goals, 14 assists, 27 points. This year, 19 games, 2 goals, 2 assists, 4 points. And sure, might be playing less, might be playing in different situations, but it's still a drop in the overall scoring. It's still a drop in his totals. And Graves, nobody to me is more indicative of how things seem to be falling short this year than Graves. Last year, 69 games, 9 goals, 17 assists, 26 points, and a +40. He was absolutely dominant defensively. This year, 18 games, 3 assists, and a -4. So he's had a swing of 44 from a +40 to a -4. So again, plus minus, yeah, it's this whatever number, doesn't matter. But if you do it in isolation and you look at it, it can tell you where players may not be playing as well, or they might be in situations where they're not able to play as well. Either way, the number does change, and it's important. And Brandon Saad, who Chicago fans were so upset when he got traded, the Chicago Blackhawks were upset when he got traded. 18 games, 6 goals, 4 assists, 10 points, and he's a minus as well. So Saad, I mean, he's been good. I understand the Zadorov for Saad trade. I just don't know that Saad is going to be a long-term member of the Colorado Avalanche. I don't know how great a fit it's been, and I do wonder if like maybe Kadri had a career year last year, for instance. But there are a lot of things to look at here and say, well, what's happening? So we'll look at their scoring by period. First period, they're fine. 16-7. They outscore their opponents. And then it just becomes mediocre. 19-18 in the second period. And in the third, they get outscored 22-21. And then in overtime, 1-1. The interesting thing, too, is this is not a comeback team. So for Colorado, scoring that first goal and having a lead is really important. Because when they're trailing after 2 this year, they're 0-5. But if you look at last year, they weren't very good when they were trailing after 2 either. They were 1-13-3. The year before that, 4-20-5. So Colorado is not a comeback team. They're a team that if they've got their game right out of the gate and they've got a lead, they get that confidence, you're good, you're fine. If they're trailing, especially after two, you can probably go make yourself a coffee. You can probably go watch a movie. You can probably go do something else and be pretty well assured that the game's probably done. And that may be something they need to look at. Is their approach when they're trailing after two and working on having those comebacks. The interesting thing, too, is that their schedule gets better from here. So, again, I don't think there's any reason to be concerned. I just think it's interesting to take a look at where they're at because the expectation was they're going to be great. I'd also throw out here being number one in the league, and there are some fans who are like, we're number one in the league. That normally means you don't win a Stanley Cup. So, as great as being number one may feel, sometimes it doesn't work out. Just throwing that out there. President's Trophy does not guarantee you a Stanley Cup. I think I can say that and feel relatively confident in saying it. Now, the positives. So I'm not going to just dump on Colorado and go, good night, everybody. They've split 4 games with Vegas. So they had the 4-game series with Vegas. They split those. So it's not like they're playing really badly. At 11-7-1, their record is good. It's just not necessarily where it was expected to be. Their upcoming schedule is very Colorado friendly. So they have the game tonight against San Jose. And then they go home. And they go home for a while. They have 2 at home against Anaheim. Then they have 2 against Arizona. 2 against LA. 1 against Anaheim. And then 2 against Minnesota. In fact, 15 of their next 18 games are at home. So this is a really key time for them. 15 of 17, I think, are at home. No, 15 of 18. No, I'm just thinking through like the schedule I saw. It was 15 of 18. But this is the time, right? Where if you're going to prove yourself contender, you got to do it at home. And I know it feels like home and road is different this year because there aren't fans in attendance. But traditionally, it's always been kind of close. Like last year, 53% of games were won by home teams. So it's just, it can be kind of up in the air. But they need to win these games at home. They've got 3 against Anaheim. They need those. Then they've got San Jose tonight. The Arizona, LA. They need to prove that they're above these teams. If they can do that and they can gain some distance between themselves and these teams, then yeah, there's really nothing to be concerned about. And keep in mind, they're only 4 points back of Vegas. Vegas does have a game in hand, but they're only 4 points back of Las Vegas. So what's remarkable is that here's a team that was shut out twice by Vegas in those 4 games. They've been held to 2 goals or less 8 times so far in 19 games. And yet they've won 11. And yet they are still in line for being very, very likely at, playoffs. And once you get there, anything can happen. So they kind of feel like maybe a sleeping giant that's going to wake up pretty quick here. But again, being 22nd in goals for, that is concerning. But their special teams tell you they're playing very well. Their 5-on-5 should come around. And some of these guys who've had disappointing totals so far, you got to think they're going to turn things up, especially McKinnon. McKinnon's not going to stay at a pace like that for the whole season. He'll pick it up. It's just a matter of when. So the upcoming homestand, I think that's going to tell us where Colorado is. There's no reason to be concerned at all unless on this homestand they win like 3 games. If they win 3 out of 9 at home, and against teams that they're ahead of in the standings, then you can start having the discussion of could Colorado see themselves outside the playoffs or anything like that. I don't think there's anything to worry about. I don't think there's anything to worry about really for any of the top 4 right now, although LA has definitely made things more interesting. We'll see if they can continue to make things more interesting as we enter. We are almost to the halfway mark of the season, and then as we enter that second half, will we see those 4 bottom teams and the 4 top teams experience more separation, or will any of those bottom 4 teams really start to push their way into the conversation? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And hey, thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I'll talk to you again soon.